like if I take a look like online, I see so many people online that their struggle is not from decluttering maybe their lives. It's like they're trying to eat their problem. Like that's the perception, right? Like when someone is struggling with their body image, they may say, I'm too skinny, I'm too big, I don't like my butt, I don't like my tits, I don't like my penis size, all these things that really aren't that important, but because we put emphasis and value on it, we
Yeah.
clutter ourselves, to continue the metaphor. Like we maybe will bury that outfit that we really want to fit into, but it just reminds us of how poor we view ourselves. So when I look at, let's for example, if I take you as an example, what is this an area where you struggled with? And if so, what did you do to help yourself?
Well, I felt like at one point, like I had it under control and I was no longer struggling with my body image. And then I came to the realization that I still struggle with my body image. And I think it's hard for like harder for my generation because we grew up at a time where, now you'll see like thicker models, models who have some weight who are curvy. You'll see models like that. Where when I was growing up back in the 70s, it wasn't like that. Everybody was thin and like, there was like this picture perfect image of what a woman was supposed to look like. So it made it hard. And then you feel like if you don't, and the thing was too, was at one point when I was like 16, 17, I put on some weight. And the one thing that used to bother me that people would say to me was, you'd be really pretty if you take off some weight. I was like, what is that? What does that even mean? It's like, but that was one thing people would say to me that like bothered me. It's like my face is my face. It's not going to change. If I take off weight, it might thin out, but it's not going to change. It's still going to be my face. So that was a comment that I would get often that really bothered me. The other thing too was the males. It was like they I was invisible. And then once I took the extra weight off, all of a sudden I'm turning heads. And I'm just like, forget you. I'm still me. I'm the same person that I am on the inside as I was before. I haven't changed any. But now because I took off the weight, you want to talk to me and you want something to do with me? No. Mm-mm.
I th-
Not
I
happening.
think that's yeah, I think that still happens quite a bit today. It's interesting to see when I look back at, let's say, because you're a little bit older than I am, and I do remember a time when I was a child where everyone looked really, really skinny, from the men to the women. The only people who were maybe larger were if they were overweight or obese, or they were like they had the bodybuilder physique, right? They're very muscular. They're like superheroes to a lot of people. I look at when I was struggling with body image issue, I was on the other end. I was really thin. And I think that's probably where there's a difference between men and women. I think women struggle, women are who are bigger are like invisible, whereas men who are very thin are invisible as well. It's like two different spectrums, right? And one thing that I went through is similar to you, where it just seemed like no one was paying any attention to me, even though you had the personality that a lot of people wanted. And I can understand how everyone has a preference, right? But it's interesting
Mhm.
to see how much emphasis we put on the actual body. And you
Right.
made a good point where people they're like shameless with it, right? Like one day it's like, well, Joyce, you're if you lost a lot of weight, if you lost a little bit of weight, you'd be more attractive. And then when you lose the weight, they're there totally forgetting the conversation that they had maybe a few weeks prior. Like, did that like how did that make you feel knowing that there was men out there who were maybe disrespectful in a way, but as soon as you start to make improvements for yourself, all of a sudden they started to come around?
It made me angry because as I said, I hadn't changed as a person. I was still the same person. Yeah, it made me mad. It was just like I felt like they were assholes. They're just like, you're a jerk, you know? It's like me and my daughter had just had this conversation the other day because she has PCOS, which causes females to have extra weight on them. And she's trying to take that off. But we had this conversation the other day how she experienced the same thing with with the guys as I did. That when she had extra weight on, they didn't want anything to do with her. Oh, you took off the weight, you look so great. Hey, we ought to get together sometime. And she's like, hell no. Just like I was, it's like, no, you know, once again, I'm the same person. I haven't changed on the inside. It's like you said, people tend to look at the outward appearance, and it's like you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't go by what I look like or by what you look like or what anybody looks like. I'll tell you something. I've seen some really beautiful people, but the minute they open their mouth and they start talking, it's like, please be quiet. You're a very ugly person. And I have met some people that were not very attractive and not very pleasant to look at, but they start talking and all of a sudden that goes away. It's like you see their personality and you see how beautiful that person is.